counting. And we thought this would be a good opportunity for you to learn what is happening in accounting today, because there's some big changes going on, and Joe can let us know what's happening and what's going on with him and his department. So, Joe, if what we have about 15 minutes that we're going to give this background, and then we'll turn it over to the questions that you guys put in the chat, and we'll answer those. So, Joe, can you tell us about this transition from 150 to 120 hours for the CPA licensure, and how has the department been involved in Iowa with this, and where are we in the state?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just for those that some people don't actually realize that we're moving back to the old requirements of 120 credit hours for CPA licensure. And this all started in Minnesota. Minnesota put legislation forward in 2023. And when we saw that come forward in Minnesota, we had some concern that, if this doesn't happen in Iowa as well, we might just see all of this Iowa students just go to school in Minnesota. So that obviously got us concerned about what was happening with the credit hours and licensure. We've engaged with the Iowa Society. So in 2024, some of you might have got some surveys from the Iowa Society getting your opinions about 150, 120. What does the extra 30 credit hours do for candidates, for you as employers? And we were engaged in all of that. We consulted with the society and did most of the background data analysis and that sort of stuff for the society. What we found in all that data is in Iowa, of the 1,000 or so people that responded to that request for feedback, is it was almost unanimous. People didn't seem to value the extra 30 credit hours of education, and I think those of us that are in the accounting profession understand some of the challenges with that, and some of maybe the mistakes that were made when it was first put into place. So now, where are we in Iowa? So Iowa has put forth legislation, and that has passed, and that will come into effect in July of 2026. And there will be three pathways to CPA licensure: 150 credit hours plus a year of experience, a master's degree plus a year of experience, or 120 credit hours and 2 years of experience. The other issue is reciprocity. There was lots of conversations that was going to be an issue between states. That has sort of just gone away really quickly. This past May, NASBA and the AICPA put forth an amendment for the Uniform Accountancy Act that would make way for this new 120-hour pathway. I should say new old pathway, which is effectively what a lot of us entered the profession in.
Yeah. So, what are you learning from your students about this change?
Okay, so two issues. So students, and then I should have mentioned firms too. So when this was coming down the pike, and we could all see it coming, firms were telling us up until last April that they're still going to require students to have 150 credit hours when they hire them because they're concerned about reciprocity. That they don't know which state they're going to work in. By August, firms had all changed their mind. I'm sure that amendment from AICPA and NASBA affected the firms, but now the firms are saying, okay, we're going to hire at 120. And so when the firm recruiters are engaging with students, what they're asking them is, what are your graduation plans? And that might dictate when they're going to be able to get an internship or the type of internship that they're going to get. But they want to know, are you going to do 150 or are you going to do 120? So the firms are now going to hire students at 120. So what do students want? We've been trying to elicit information from students, and we did some surveying of our existing students and trying to gauge, what are their desires on additional education. So the big issue in accounting higher ed programs is we all have these graduate degree programs that didn't exist before the 150-hour requirement, but now we all have them. So will students still be interested in a graduate degree? What we actually found kind of surprising is there was a surprisingly high amount of interest in a graduate degree from our existing students. But there is concern over cost and
Mhm.
obviously the opportunity cost of the extra year. And what we've learned is that if it isn't going to be a little bit more convenient for them to access or have a clear specialty, we're probably not going to get interest from students to continue that. So that's
Okay.
effectively what we've learned from
Okay.
students.
So how will the department ensure that students are ready for the accounting profession when now they only have to take 120 hours?
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest issue for us right now and the biggest challenge. So, and currently our grad degree isn't really that large, or our grad
Mhm.
program. We typically have between maybe 20 to 25 students. It's usually our high achieving students that do the MAC program. Most of UNI's accounting students get their 150 through other means. Sometimes they double major, sometimes they triple major, but other means. So the impact of a grad program on us from, let's say, from an enrollment standpoint is probably not that big of a deal compared to some other universities where maybe 90 or 100% of their, University of Missouri, for example, they don't even offer a 4-year degree. They only offer a 5-year degree. So that has major impact on
Mhm.
schools like that. But so, but how do we ensure that they're going to have all the classes they need? So we actually kind of encounter this a little bit right now. One issue we have is that at UNI we have 18-hour degrees, and to be eligible to sit for the CPA exam, you need 24 credit hours. And in reality, if a student's going to sit for the exam and have a good chance of success, even after they've been through the review, they should probably have taken 27 credit hours, meaning they should have had, in addition to their core accounting classes, they need to take advanced accounting, government, nonprofit,
Mhm.
and probably either advanced tax or advanced audit. Now they're going to need to fit that in a 120-hour
Mhm.
window instead of a 150-hour window. And so there's probably going to have to be some give and take
Yeah.
amongst students on whether they do another degree or will they take all of those extra accounting classes that they're going to need to be successful.
Which was the situation for the accountants in the room. That was probably the situation for you when you graduated.
Yeah.
So we're back to that same situation and trying to resolve that.
And I was going to say, it's going to take a lot of communication with students. So
Yes.
when students start, making sure they understand that they're going to need to leave space in their plan of study later in their junior and senior year, that they're going to need to fit a few elective classes in so that they can be ready.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are the proactive steps that the UNI accounting department has taken?
Okay, so um, the MAC program is one thing that we've talked a lot about. What will become of that? Will we want to keep a MAC program, or will we need to change it? Will it need to become something different? And so that's where we've had a lot of time talking about what to do with that program. We do want to try to keep it right now.
Hmm.
The one reason we would like to keep it is our competing universities in the state also have MAC programs, and we're concerned that if we don't have all of the offerings that they do, then students may just say, "Well, UNI doesn't offer it. I might as well go, to one of the other universities in the state." So we have an approach where we're sort of like a carrot that
Yeah.
we're going to put in front of students to try to get them interested in some of those upper level courses, and a carrot that it might lead to something else. And so the first step is we're going to integrate our MAC in our undergrad. So by integrate, what that means is we can allow 12 credit hours to count towards the undergrad degree and the MAC simultaneously. And so some of those advanced courses, government nonprofit, advanced accounting, say advanced tax or advanced audit or accounting research, are courses that they can take for grad credit. And typically they might take those towards their master's degree. We can now count those towards both the grad and undergrad. We've always been able to do that, but we haven't necessarily had a
Yeah.
reason to because they needed 150 credit hours.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the first piece. We actually have a meeting over that tomorrow to try to get that piece approved. The second piece is we've been talking about an option where a student could do that, which would get them started on their master's degree. And they would do that within their 4-year window, and it would be in their senior year. Let's say 3 of the classes would be in the fall, another class in the spring, along with CPA review in the spring. So they could graduate in 4 years with 120 credits, their CPA done, but they would also have made headway towards a master's degree,
Mhm.
which then they could circle back and finish after they've started their career, which would require us to have some flexibility in the way the courses are offered.
Which means they may be
They may
offered
be
in
offered.
this particular way so that students
Yeah.
working for you guys out there can actually continue with their education.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I would say that we like to say that we help students cross the finish line
Yes.
with the CPA exam. This is an opportunity for us to say we help them cross the finish line, and then we're going to help them in the early stages of their
Career.
career, which will also
Yeah.
then create opportunities where we can maybe alter and modify some of those courses to fit better for people that are now working versus students that are not out in the workforce. And
Yes.
so we might work with alumni and firms then to continue to shape and hone those
Yeah.
courses.
So I actually see for all the firms that are out there that this is a potential opportunity. We are hearing from firms that students that are starting to work aren't necessarily ready. They're having to revamp their training in order to mentor the students in the area. And at least what I am hoping is that this becomes a not only a graduate degree, but a professional development opportunity that helps those graduates be more effective in the early years of their careers in those accounting firms. And so,
Yeah.
as you've heard from Joe, he's going to be working with firms and asking those questions. What can we do to help your new employees be very successful in the very quickly changing environment of accounting for those entry level professionals? So, last question: what does success look like for accounting at UNI, Joe?
Well, I think success means we still have, high success on professional exam and professional
Mhm.
readiness. Um, I don't think the coursework and the requirements are changing that much. It's just in some ways the way they're offered. Some success for us in the department because there's a lot of changing dynamics and some things that are hard to anticipate, even though we are collecting student
Yeah.
data. Ultimately, the way they enroll and the pathways that they choose it's always hard, even just asking questions. They don't always respond
Hmm.
in the way they answer the question. So once we can kind of hone in also on the desires and the needs of the students, I think we'll be flexible in a way to sort of shift to make those last little bits
Yeah.
of fine tuning, I would say. I think that would be success for us is to see these programs exist but fine tuned in a way that ultimately leads them down that pathway of a good
Yeah.
degree, getting through their professional licensure, and then having an opportunity to still engage and develop as a young professional.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to open up to questions. And what I failed to do is what you could have seen, what students have, is I failed to use this, but I ask questions about all of this. But now we're leaving time for the people in the room to ask us questions about the information that Joe has provided.
And let's actually kick it off. There's a couple of questions in the chat we can just kind of kick things off with, and we can also open it
Yeah.
up. People can unmute and ask too. But one question we had is are you looking at an accelerated 90-hour bachelor's degree plus a 30-hour master's in accounting to get to the 120? There may be some other universities looking at that option, so just curious about that.
Um, Others may be looking at that. We aren't looking at that right now, but it is essentially what's going to happen is within their 120 hours, they're going to get a bachelor's degree. So that's going to be done. Plus, they're going to have additional hours that they're taking of graduate credit. So when you think that the graduate program is 30 hours long, they're going to graduate with 120 hours. And I think about 12 of those credit hours
Yep.
count toward the graduate program. So they're going to be halfway through the graduate program at the time they graduate with their bachelor's.
Okay, another question. So students in their junior year, are they supposed to talk to advisors on what electives needed to be added to get ready for the CPA exam at 120 hours? How does that go?
Yeah.
Well, they're supposed to, assuming that they always talk to their advisor, which is something that it's hard to get students sometimes, especially once they've been here for a couple of years and they just get kind of used to,
Yeah.
I can just do it on my own. But they all start out with a plan of study and they meet with their advisors initially. But those things change over the course of 4 years. And but that is where they need to have that contact point with their advisor or us.
Yeah.
And it's not uncommon for students to come talk to me and go through their plan
Yeah.
of study, even if they've met with their advisor.
Yeah. So just to give everybody a little bit of information, all of our advisors are down in what we call the Office for Professional Distinction, and the 4 advisors there, plus the director, advise all majors. Those advisors work very closely with the department head and with other faculty to make sure that 4-year plans are laid out. And there will be different 4-year plans laid out based on where that student thinks that they want to go. Now, if they can meet with the advisors, but then they can also meet with the department head, they can meet with their faculty. And so at that point, they're often talking about what's going to be, I want to be a CPA, what is going to be most beneficial to me in the long run. And so they'll talk about career goals with the faculty. So thanks for the question.
Last question I'm seeing in the chat right now is you and I looking at an option for a master's that's 100% online in that 5th year.
We do have a master's that is 100% online, and that is our MBA program. So that's available. We are also rolling out a new master's called Masters of Organizational Management. So let's say some of the hours that a student got here at UNI in the accounting department can apply to that. But when we're talking about the MAC program, we are essentially looking at that MAC program moving to this kind of environment so that students will be able to go to work, start their jobs. They've already completed maybe a third of that master's program. They can finish it while they're working for you guys. So that is the intent, is that we're going to move this way. I think there's a sense that we're going to have to. Yeah.
Yeah, and the data we got from students is that when we put actually some options of if the program is structured this way or it's program structured this way, what would be your desire? And something that is a bit more flexible and allow them to finish later.
Yeah.
And just staying an extra year, the accounting students understand the opportunity
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah.
And we're 100% certain they're not going to
Yeah.
stay for an extra year, with the exception of maybe just a handful.
Jeff asked a question, how does the move to 120 hours impact potential study abroad opportunities? Joe has that covered.
Well, we have a study abroad program. The one that we promote in accounting is the AI program in France, and students go to France for a month, and they get 6 credit hours of a certificate towards AI for business. That program is cross-listed, so it can count towards the undergrad or the grad degree. Actually, when we look at the plans of study for students that might do this sort of hybrid approach, we think there's a good chance a lot of those would probably do 4 of the classes that count towards the grad and undergrad. And then a lot of students are doing that study abroad in France after their final semester. So a good chance they'll do that for grad credit as well before they start work, because that fits actually in a window usually before students start their job or their internship. So a very good chance that students would actually leave here with those 4 cross-counting grad classes, plus 6 grad credit hours for that study abroad. And they're really only going to have maybe 4, maybe 5 classes left to complete in an environment like this.
So, and just to thank you, many of the people who are online right now donate back to the accounting campaign. And your accounting campaign gifts are allowing Joe to support the accounting students doing this study abroad opportunity. And what we get back from students is just amazing. It is a great experience for them. It really builds skills in an area maybe they have not focused on while they're here. They see it as highly valuable. So some of the things that Joe is doing is to make sure that students can continue to get that graduate degree and get maybe over half of it done before they start to work for you. And number two, they maintain the high CPA pass rate that we have. In 2023, top in the nation. Accounting Today says that we want to continue to maintain that. So next question, Tyler, I saw another one come in.
Yep. Yeah. So UNI's 3-year graduation rate is at a record high right now. What do these changes show for potential impact on UNI's 4-year graduation rate?
Well, our 4-year graduation rate goes up because of that. Our 4-year graduation rate for the campus, the College of Business 4-year graduation rate exceeds the 4-year graduation rate of all of the other colleges on campus. We have the highest. So we work very hard to ensure that students get through efficiently and effectively. Now, one of the reasons I've had a vision for students to get a graduate certificate before they graduate from UNI is so that they have that graduate certificate, and then that graduate certificate can fit into one of our current master's programs. So the Masters of Accounting program would be one of them. They're getting hours that apply. They can go to work and get that done. It also applies for our Masters of Organizational Management. They can get that graduate. This is for primarily I see the non-accountants doing this because we have non-accountants who take that study abroad. So they can take that certificate and apply that to the Masters of Organizational Management. They go out and work a couple years, and then they rejoin us for that graduate program. So we're trying to make sure that our students are well positioned when they graduate to meet the requirements of their particular careers and then go on to have additional graduate opportunities after they graduate.
A question I have for the two of you. I know we have quite a few people on the call who are from some of our neighboring states, and hopefully a lot of you have seen the news about UNI offering in-state tuition for our neighboring states. For the both of you, talk about the impact on the entire business college, as well as maybe specifically the accounting department, what you see that impact having for us here on campus at UNI.
I think you have a good story.
Well, I actually have a great story.
Yeah.
I met a young man that transferred from University of Illinois Chicago, but he learned of the in-state rate about a week before classes started. He knew a little bit about UNI's accounting program. He has a relative that lives in the state and that sort of thing. But he realized that it was going to be much less money for him to actually enroll over here. And our accounting program has a lot better reputation, a lot better success statistics than theirs does. And he made the transition over here, and he's been, I will say, ultra engaged. And probably couldn't be a better advocate for our accounting program. And so he's just a great example of one student that learned about it and just made that choice very quickly. The information had hardly been out there very long. I think it's going to have a big impact.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of really great students that come from out of state.
Yeah.
A lot of students from Minnesota and when they do come, they tend to be really high achieving.
Yeah. I want to tell you another story, and this is a story that I just heard on Tuesday from the graduate college dean, who was in Wisconsin enjoying a football game over the weekend. And there was a person who was serving her and the other women that she was with. And they asked, well, where do you go to school? And the student said, and, what are you majoring in? Oh, I'm majoring in accounting. And so they started asking questions. Well, at the school that this particular student is at, for the undergraduate degree in accounting, it was 147 hours long. And so the graduate dean said, hey, you could have come to UNI and had not only your bachelor's and your master's, but had a better probability of actually passing the CPA exam. And so it was really a very good story to tell. So we do have to learn more about kind of what those options are. And if other schools are not responding the same way that we are, we need to take advantage of it. Now, we learned very late about the ability to offer the in-state tuition. So we really didn't get as much advertising in this year as we would have liked. But right now, we're looking at applications that are coming in, and our applications for the non-resident students in the states that surround us are double right now as compared to what they were last year at the same time. So we see that happening. Number two, we tried to take advantage of it. We just had a UNI Business Day. I don't today yet know the results on how many did this, but we offered a hotel stay overnight to those applicants who said they were interested in business if they would come to our UNI Business Day. Now, we did have a very successful day. It was the largest number of students and guests that we have ever had on our UNI Business Day. So we're very excited about that. I haven't dug into the data yet because it just happened on Friday as to how many of those were out-of-state students. But what I can tell you is it is having an impact on our applications.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I know we're coming up on the 10:30. We're happy to stick around for a couple more minutes and take other questions. But again, thank you guys. I know we've got a number of Dean's Funds donors and specifically to the accounting
Thank
program. But
you.
if there's ways we can help or you guys want to help, feel free to reach out to Tyler, Lee, certainly Joe and Leslie. But we can't do it without all of our great alumni and
Yeah.
donors and all that. So we thank you, Leslie and Joe, for joining us and giving a little bit of your time. So we'll end the recording now, but they're happy to stay on a couple more minutes if you want to
Yeah.
answer questions. But
And one
as
thing
always, go
too,
Panthers.
yes, go Panthers. One thing too, before you leave, we're looking at doing these webinars, and we will bring in other people to talk specifically about what's happening in the college. If there are particular things that you would like to hear about right now, just stick it in the chat. We'll collect that up, and that may determine the kind of conversation that we have next time. We really want you to know about what's happening here in the Wilson College of Business. So additional questions were